A ship is screaming as the ice crushes its hull. That sound was the last thing its crew ever heard, and then silence for more than 100 years. This is the true story of a vessel and its sailors, perfectly preserved in a frozen grave, a time capsule waiting to be opened. By the end, you will understand the final moments of a lost expedition and the incredible secrets ice can keep. We will walk its ghostly decks, set for a meal no one ate, and uncover why these men were left behind by history. What does it truly mean to be frozen in time? The silence was finally broken in the summer of 2010. A team of archaeologists, funded by Parks Canada, was meticulously scanning the seabed near King William Island in the Arctic. Their sonar equipment was searching for any trace of the lost Franklin expedition, a doomed British voyage that had vanished more than 1.5 centuries earlier. The grainy screen showed the usual contours of silt and rock, a monotony of the deep. Then a shape emerged. It was too angular, too perfect to be natural. As the remote-operated vehicle descended, its lights pierced the dark, frigid water, and there she was. Resting perfectly upright on the ocean floor lay Her Majesty's ship Erebus, a 3-masted bomb vessel from the age of sail. Her wooden hull, though damaged, was astonishingly intact. Ropes still hung from the masts, and the deck lay waiting, as if the crew had just stepped away for a moment. The cold, dark water, just above freezing, had acted as a perfect preservative. There was no light, no oxygen, and no marine organisms to cause decay. It was a natural deep freeze, a time capsule sealed by the Arctic itself. This was not just any old wreck. Erebus, alongside her sister ship Terror, had set sail from England in 1845 under the command of Sir John Franklin. Their mission was one of the great quests of the Victorian era, to find the elusive Northwest Passage, a sea route across the top of the world. They were the best-equipped expedition of their time, with steam engines fitted into their sturdy hulls and provisions for 3 years. Yet after a few final sightings by whaling ships, they simply disappeared into the white void, taking 129 men with them. The discovery of Erebus was a seismic moment in maritime archaeology. Here was the physical key to a legend, a ghost ship from the height of the British Empire, preserved in stunning detail. But as the camera surveyed those silent decks, one question became louder than ever. If the ship was here, so complete, so eerily undisturbed, where did all the people go? The first explorers to enter the wreck did not find a chaotic scene of disaster. Instead, they stepped into a world of suspended animation, a snapshot of life interrupted. The cold, dark water had preserved everything with an almost reverent stillness. In the captain's quarters, a desk lay as if waiting for Sir John Franklin himself to return. An inkwell sat beside an open logbook, its pages a blur of faded ink, the final entries forever lost to the water. In the common areas, tables were still set with tin plates and cups, arranged for a meal that was never served. Personal belongings told the most human stories. A pair of spectacles rested on a shelf, waiting for their owner. Carefully folded uniforms hung in lockers, and a sailor's ditty bag held a small sewing kit, a button, and a worn photograph of a loved one, a tangible piece of a world left behind. The most haunting finds were the everyday tools left in mid-use. A hammer was found lying next to a repair, as if the carpenter had simply put it down for a moment. The ship's wheel stood fixed, still pointing the vessel on its last, futile course. This level of preservation was possible because of the Arctic's unique conditions. The near-freezing water lacked oxygen, which prevented the growth of bacteria and wood-eating organisms. Leather boots, wool jackets, and even packets of food remained largely intact, looking as though they had been submerged for years, not centuries. To walk those silent corridors was to feel the ghost of routine. The echo of 129 lives paused in an instant. It created an intimate connection to the past, but also deepened the central mystery. The ship was a perfectly preserved home, yet it was utterly empty. If the men did not perish here in a sudden catastrophe, what compelled them to abandon this fortress of wood and iron, to walk away from their food, their warmth, and their belongings into the most hostile environment on Earth? The answer to that chilling question lies not just on the ship, but scattered across the barren ice. The fate of the crew was a slow-motion tragedy, pieced together from bones, artifacts, and Inuit oral history. When the ships Erebus and Terror became hopelessly trapped in the ice off King William Island in 1846, the men faced a terrible choice. They could stay aboard their frozen prisons, waiting for a thaw that might never come, or attempt a desperate march south toward a distant trading post. For nearly 2 years, they chose to wait, living on their dwindling supplies. But by 1848, with their commander Sir John Franklin dead and hope fading, the remaining sailors made their fateful decision. They abandoned the ships, dragging heavy wooden lifeboats across the jagged ice, loaded with canned food, tools, and their own fading strength. Forensic analysis of skeletal remains found along their retreat route tells a grim story. The bones show classic signs of scurvy, a brutal disease caused by vitamin C deficiency that weakens the body, causes old wounds to reopen, and leads to exhaustion and death. But there is another, more disturbing mark. High levels of lead have been detected in the bones, pointing to a silent killer on board. The expedition's thousands of tin cans were sealed with lead solder, which likely leached into the food over time. Lead poisoning causes fatigue, confusion, and erratic behavior, symptoms that would have crippled the men's ability to make clear decisions in a crisis. So imagine these sailors, already weakened by scurvy, their minds clouded by lead, attempting to haul heavy boats across a landscape of shifting ice and perpetual cold. They were naval men, not Arctic survival experts. Their uniforms were made of wool and canvas, utterly inadequate for temperatures that could plunge to -50 degrees. Inuit hunters later reported finding groups of men who had died in their tents, some still huddled around stoves that had long gone cold. The final haunting clues come from the lifeboats themselves. One was discovered much later, pointed back toward the ships. Inside were 2 skeletons, silver cutlery from the officers' mess, and a bizarre cargo of unrelated items like button polish and silk handkerchiefs. This suggests a group that had fractured, their mission devolving from survival to something else entirely. Were they delirious from lead and starvation, or were they trying to haul precious artifacts to safety in a final act of duty? We know they were not just anonymous sailors. They were carpenters and cooks, marine artists and scientists, young boys on their first voyage and seasoned veterans who had sailed the world. They left behind everything that defined them, their spectacles, their letters, their families, on a ghost ship that would keep their secrets for 160 years. The greatest unanswered question remains: why did they leave so early, in the brutal month of April, instead of waiting for summer, and what happened in those final fragmented groups on the ice? The ship is preserved, but the full story of its crew is still a puzzle, with the most human pieces forever lost to the wind. That ghost ship, holding the crew's final belongings, also became an unparalleled scientific vault. The Arctic's deep freeze did more than preserve plates and spectacles. It captured a moment in biological and environmental time with stunning clarity. From the sediments in the hold to the very bones of the men, researchers have extracted data that rewrites our understanding of the past. For instance, scientists recovered intact DNA from the remains of several crew members. This genetic material allowed researchers to positively identify individuals, connect them to living descendants, and even trace familial relationships between sailors on board. It transformed anonymous skeletons back into people with names and histories. Beyond human genetics, the cold preserved a microscopic record of life on the ship. Samples from the bilge water and storage areas revealed traces of parasites and pathogens. This offers a unique window into the health challenges of a 19th century sailing crew. showing what diseases they might have carried with them into the ice, separate from the scurvy and lead poisoning that ultimately felled them. The food supplies, still sealed in their tins or stored in barrels, provided a direct snapshot of Victorian-era nutrition and food preservation science. Analysis showed the crew's diet was heavy on salted meats and hardtack, predictably lacking in fresh vitamins, but examining the cans themselves, especially the lead solder, gave forensic proof of the contamination theory, showing exactly how the poison seeped into their meals over years. Even the ship's construction became a lesson in historical engineering. The reinforced hull, the innovative steam engines fitted into a sailing vessel, and the specific types of wood and metal used tell a detailed story of maritime technology at the peak of the British Empire. The cargo, from fine china for the officers to simple tools for the crew, maps the social hierarchy and trade networks of the period. In this way, the Erebus is far more than a shipwreck. It functions as a sealed laboratory from 1845. The layers of silt around it hold a record of Arctic climate conditions from the moment it sank. The state of the preserved wood and textiles informs new techniques for conserving waterlogged artifacts from any era. Studying the microbes that can survive in such a cold, dark, oxygen-poor environment even contributes to astrobiology, the search for life on other worlds, by showing how organisms might persist in extreme places. Every carefully raised artifact, from a sailor's mitt to a brass button, carries not just a human story, but a payload of data waiting to be decoded. This leads us to a profound and unsettling modern dilemma. Who does this time capsule truly belong to, and what are the ethics of disturbing a grave to learn its secrets? That silent ship, both a grave and a laboratory, forces us to confront a complex legacy. We began with a sound, the scream of wood giving way to ice, and followed a trail of clues for more than a century. We witnessed the stunning discovery of Her Majesty's ship Erebus, a vessel frozen not just in ice, but in a single moment of its crew's lives. We walked its ghostly decks, set for a meal that turned to a last supper, and traced the heartbreaking footsteps of those men as they abandoned their only shelter for a hopeless trek across the Arctic. Finally, we saw how that very ice, which claimed their lives, gifted future generations an unparalleled window into their world, preserving everything from their DNA to their daily rations. This is the dual gift of the Erebus, a story of profound human tragedy intertwined with an extraordinary scientific bounty. It reminds us that history is not just dates in a book, but real people who lived, hoped, and faced impossible choices. Their final voyage, preserved in such intimate detail, asks us a larger question: what can we learn from these perfectly preserved moments in time? Perhaps it is humility, a reminder of human fragility against nature's power. Or maybe it is resilience, the enduring drive to explore even into the unknown. The ship and its crew are no longer lost. They are a permanent snapshot, a lesson forever anchored in the deep. What part of this story stays with you the most? Is it the personal belongings left behind, the silent dinner table, or the haunting evidence of their slow struggle on the ice? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this journey into a frozen moment captivated you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more explorations into history's greatest unsolved mysteries.